A frozen mystery, the Battle of Chungjin Lake and the frozen soldiers. During the brutal winter of 1950, the Battle of Chungjin Lake, also known as the Battle of Chosin Reservoir, unfolded in the harsh terrain of North Korea. This pivotal battle of the Korean War involved fierce fighting between United Nations forces, primarily composed of U.S. Marines and Army units, and the Chinese People's Volunteer Army, PVA. The battle, which took place from November 26 to December 11, 1950, is remembered not only for its strategic importance, but also for the extreme weather conditions that created a landscape of frozen horror. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, when North Korean forces backed by the Soviet Union and China crossed the 38th parallel and invaded South Korea. In response, United Nations forces, led by the United States, intervened to support South Korea. By October 1950, after a successful counteroffensive that included the famous Incheon landing, UN forces had pushed the North Korean army back across the 38th parallel and advanced deep into North Korea. However, the entry of Chinese forces into the war dramatically altered the situation. On October 25, 1950, Chinese troops began crossing the Yalu River in large numbers, launching a series of offensives aimed at driving UN forces out of North Korea. The Battle of Chungjin Lake was part of this larger Chinese counteroffensive. The Battle of Chungjin Lake took place in the mountainous region surrounding the Chosin Reservoir. The area, sparsely populated and characterized by rugged terrain, presented significant challenges for both sides. The UN forces, including the U.S. 1st Marine Division and elements of the 7th Infantry Division, were spread thin along a 78-mile-long road that connected the reservoir to the port of Hungnam. This road was their only route of retreat. On November 27, 1950, Chinese forces launched a surprise attack on the UN troops, employing their signature tactic of human wave assaults. The Chinese 9th Army Group, consisting of approximately 120,000 troops, significantly outnumbered the 30,000 UN soldiers. The fighting was fierce and chaotic, with the Chinese troops using the cover of night and the harsh weather to their advantage. One of the most haunting aspects of the battle was the extreme cold. Temperatures plunged to as low as -36 degrees Fahrenheit, -38 degrees Celsius, creating a hellish environment where frostbite and hypothermia were constant threats. The cold was so severe that medical supplies froze, weapons malfunctioned, and vehicles became inoperable. Morphine syrettes had to be thawed in medics' mouths before they could be used. And blood plasma was often frozen solid. In this unforgiving climate, the bravery and determination of the Chinese soldiers became legendary. Despite being poorly equipped for the cold, they continued to press their attacks. Entire companies were found frozen in their fighting positions, their bodies preserved like ice sculptures. This eerie scene became an enduring symbol of the battle and the extraordinary sacrifices made by the soldiers. The battle saw several key engagements and tactical maneuvers. Task Force Faith, led by Lieutenant Colonel Don Faith, was a unit of the U.S. Army's 7th Infantry Division that attempted to break out from their encircled position on the east side of the reservoir. Despite heavy casualties and fierce resistance, Faith's determined leadership averted a complete disaster, though he was mortally wounded in the process and posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. Hellfire Valley was a treacherous stretch of road that saw a desperate battle as elements of the 1st Marine Division fought to reopen their route of retreat. Under the command of Colonel Lewis Chesty Puller, the Marines, along with Royal Marines and other UN troops, faced continuous ambushes and had to fight through a gauntlet of fire. Securing Toktung Pass was crucial for the UN forces' withdrawal. The 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, led by Captain Ray Davis, undertook a grueling march through a blizzard to relieve Fox Company, which was holding the pass against overwhelming odds. Davis's leadership earned him the Medal of Honor. By early December, it became clear that the UN forces needed to evacuate to avoid annihilation. General Douglas MacArthur ordered the X-Corps to retreat to the port of Hungnam. This advance in a different direction, as General Smith famously put it, involved a fighting withdrawal through mountainous terrain under constant attack. The retreat was marked by extraordinary acts of valor and endurance. The Marines and soldiers had to fight their way through Chinese roadblocks and ambushes, with frozen weapons and malfunctioning equipment adding to their woes. The UN forces managed to break out of the encirclement and reach Hungnam, where they were evacuated in one of the largest sea evacuations in U.S. military history. The Battle of Chongjin Lake, despite ending in a tactical withdrawal for the UN forces, was a strategic victory in many ways. The Chinese failed to annihilate the 1st Marine Division, and their losses were significant, with estimates ranging from 19,202 to 29,800 casualties. The battle demonstrated the resilience and fighting spirit of the UN troops, who became known as the Chosin Few. The story of the frozen soldiers stands as a poignant reminder of the brutal realities of war and the extreme conditions faced by those who fought. The courage and sacrifice displayed at Chongjin Lake continue to inspire and remind us of the high price of freedom.